Welcome back, guys. We're going to dig right into Psalm 4 today, but let me just make a quick note that Psalm 3 and 4 are often connected together. So you may want to, if you didn't get a chance, watch yesterday's video on Psalm 3 to better understand the connectedness here, what David was saying before you go on to today's. You don't have to. You'll understand just based on this video what's happening in Psalm 4, but it may be helpful to you to see them both together. So with that, let's dig into Psalm 4. This is for the choir director with stringed instruments, a psalm of David. It says, "Answer me when I call, God who vindicates me. You freed me from affliction. Be gracious to me and hear my prayer. How long, exalted ones, will my honor be insulted? How long will you love what is worthless and pursue a lie? Know that the Lord has set apart the faithful for himself. The Lord will hear when I call to him. Be angry and do not sin. On your bed, reflect in your heart and be still. Offer sacrifices in righteousness and trust in the Lord." Many are asking, who can show us anything good? Let the light of your face shine on us, Lord. You have put more joy in my heart than they have when their grain and new wine abound. I will both lie down and sleep in peace. For you alone, Lord, make me live in safety. If you asked me to give a title to this psalm, it would be Peace in the Midst of Affliction, because that's exactly what we see David obtaining over the course of this psalm. Psalm 3 and 4 are often connected because it's assumed by many that David writes these during the same season where he's on the run from his son Absalom. And that's an important note to make here because it makes the joy and peace that we see in verses 6 to 8 all the more astounding, considering the season of life that he was in. And the question we've got to ask is, how did he get there? How did he get that joy and peace? So look at two things real quick that he does that leads to peace and joy in the midst of his affliction. The first in verse 1 is that he prays to the Lord for rescue from his affliction. He prays for rescue. There's nothing wrong with that. A paraphrase from this verse could be, "You've delivered me before, now do it again, Lord." He's praying that, he's asking that of the Lord for rescue. But more prominently in the psalm than that is what's happening in verses 2 to 5. David turns his attention to his enemies and calls them to repentance. He tells them in verse 4, "Be angry and do not sin. On your bed, reflect in your heart and be still. Offer sacrifices in righteousness and trust in the Lord." He's calling his enemies to repentance, and we have to imagine that doing that caused David to remember the graciousness of the Lord on him when he repented of his own sin. So this leads to that joy that we saw in verses 6 to 8. Look at verse 7. "You have put more joy in my heart than they have when their grain and new wine abound. I will both lie down and sleep in peace. For you alone, Lord, make me live in safety." What we can take away from this today is that a life of joy, a life of peace, even in the midst of affliction, is one that cries out to the Lord for rescue. Not to other sources, but to the Lord alone for rescue. But then also it's one who lives a life of repentance, both in ourselves, but also a life that calls those around us to repentance, to trust in the Lord, as he says. And so may we be a people who call on the Lord in the midst of our struggle. May we be a people who are constantly and continually exposing and repenting of our own sin, as well as calling those that we love and calling those that we would be tempted to call enemies to repentance and to trust in the Lord. Hope this is helpful. Comment below what stands out from this psalm. We hope to see you tomorrow.